Paul Schwartz joins us from the New York Post, beat writer, good friend of the program, Albany grad, making his way into town next week to speak to a class over at UA. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Roger.
What's going on?
How are you?
Fantastic, Paul. How about you?
Good. All expense paid week in Houston is over. It was an interesting Super Bowl, obviously. I'm sure your listeners and you guys thought the same thing.
No
yes, then you get a little break, and then it's you start thinking about the X's and O's and dollars and cents of the team you cover, which in this case is the Giants.
Yeah. How quickly will a decision be made, Paul, on Victor Cruz?
Well, he has I believe he has a $1 million roster bonus on March 11th. So this will not go past March 10th.
Wow. Yeah.
This is not really look, he's due a lot of money. He counts over $9 million on the cap. I mean, those numbers are not realistic numbers. You know what I mean? Those are cap numbers. Those are numbers in his contract. Those are not what is going to keep him off the team. You know what I'm saying? He knows that, he took a pay cut last year to remain on the roster. He knows that if he is on this team again, it will be for a greatly reduced salary. The questions are twofold. I asked him this the other day at the Super Bowl. He was at a Nickelodeon event. He was about to get slimed with green slime, so I was able to ask him before he got slimed. He knows he wants to be back, and he knows that he will be back for a reduced role. The question is, do the Giants see him as someone they want back at a reduced role or not at all? And he said, that's the question that I can't answer. I'm not sure I can answer that question, but I do think he will. It's a hard one, because of the emotion involved and how much they love Victor Cruz. I would say this. I would say they will offer him a very, very reduced contract, very reduced, with no guarantees to make the team. And it might be just enough for him to walk away from, but it will have to be really bad for him to walk away because he really wants to be back.
Paul, there was no exit interview. In fact, according to Cruz, he hasn't spoken to the Giants at all since the team closed out the season with that loss to the Packers in the wild card. What do you make of that? Is that true?
Well, I think a lot of players did not have exit interviews. I think because of the time with the playoffs, Roger, it gets a little funky, and they came back, after the game, and I don't think there was the normal, every player goes in and talks to the coach exit interview. Sometimes in the playoffs, when you lose in the playoffs, that's what happens. So I wouldn't read too much into that with Cruz. I think a lot of guys are in that same boat.
All right, let me take another one. How about JPP? Are they going to, he's not going to get an $85 million deal like Vernon, but are they going to show him a lot of love and a lot of money to keep him around?
They want him. They want him back. I mean, they don't look at him and say, well, after the year he had and then he got hurt again, we're not really going to make a play for him. They're going to make a play for him, but I would assume, I don't think the franchise tag is in order again this year. It was before he blew off his hand, basically. He was franchised. He did not like that, which is tough luck. I mean, that's the way the collective bargaining agreement works. You don't have to like it. You just have to sit back and collect the $15 million, I don't think that's where they want to go this year. They don't want to put that much on the cap. He did come back and play. So, he did come back and play at a high level, not his old level, but at a high level. And then he got hurt again, which hurts him and, costs him money. So I would think they'll make him an offer. I would think they may let him test the market and see where it goes. And if it gets crazy, I don't think he'll be back. The only problem with that is his replacement is not on the roster. They're not going to say a combination of Romeo Okwara and Kerry Wynn is going to do the job, and and nothing that Owa Odighizuwa has shown in 2 injury-filled years makes you think that he can be a player either. So it's not like they have some waiting in the wings. So if they don't re-sign him, then they have to go find his replacement.
Paul, I'm going to ask you a pretty unfair question. It's going to be very unscientific, but as it relates to Cruz and JPP, could you and again, unscientifically, throw a dollar amount on what we could be possibly looking at? Obviously, Cruz isn't going to, he's set to count $9.4 million against the cap. JPP is obviously not going to get Olivier Vernon money, but can you kind of just give an estimate of what a guy like Victor Cruz or JPP could be looking at this year financially?
Well, Cruz, I think, Zach, you're looking at, not much more than a veteran minimum type thing. I mean, he was a non-very productive third receiver. Okay, so he comes back in at the very best a third receiver role, at the very best. Coming off a season where he caught one touchdown pass in 15 games. Now you could say, and he's also, turned the witching hour. He's over 30 now. Now you could say, well, that was his 1 year back. After missing 2 years, he'll get stronger. He'll get better. You can make that case. You can also say that, not a lot good happens after 30. So, his contract is not going to be anything distinguishable. It's going to be a, maybe a 2-year deal and, for $4 million, but the guarantee will be basically the first-year contract salary. If he makes the team, they'll throw in some incentives. So he's not going to get anything from the Giants that's going to make him say, wow, they really love me, I'm going to stay. What he gets from the Giants is going to be, I have a chance to be on the team again. That's my feeling on that. And I don't think he's going to have a great market somewhere else, but would someone offer him slightly more than the Giants? Perhaps. And then he's going to have to weigh. He really likes it here. This is his home. He's from Paterson, New Jersey. His endorsements, he feels the team is on the upswing, Eli Manning, Odell Beckham. So, I don't think he's going to leave for a couple of bucks here. But, I don't think his salary will be anything to write home about. As far as JPP, I think he's looking... at something, an average of like 13, 14 million a year. However, they want to structure that, guarantees in the 30s. He may want somewhere guarantees in the 50s. I just don't think they look at him as a on the rise player. They look at him as a good player and they want him back. But I think the market, if someone blows them out of the water, and look. I mean, the Cowboys are not in good financial straits, but they could use JPP. The Redskins are always a factor in these kind of things, with a guy in the division. So, I think someone will offer more than the Giants will offer for JPP, and I could see him leaving.
Paul Schwartz with us, New York Post Giants beat writer, off season. All kinds of moves will be made. Decisions will be made. Paul, how close are the Giants to that next step, meaning, getting back to the Super Bowl? They won 11 games last year. How close are they? What do they need to do here to take the next step?
Well, I think they're about 5 points a game close, and that's either close or far. You just can't operate. The last, 6 games, they were scoring 15 points a game. I think their defense, now their defense has issues, as far as is JPP coming back, is Jonathan Hankins coming back. We didn't even talk about Jonathan Hankins, and he is a legitimate starting two-way, good, not great, good defensive tackle in the league, and I don't think his replacement is on the roster either. So, I don't think he's going to break the bank like Linval Joseph did several years ago with the Vikings, but, they're going to have to ante up on a line that already is paying big money for Olivier Vernon and already paying big money for Snacks Harrison. So, how much can you spend on one position? It's an important position. So, but I don't think they can take a step back on defense. And also, one more thing is Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, who's going to cost, I think his salary is $7 million next year, and he had a great year. But he's a reduced player. He's a guy, less is more with him. You have 2 starters in Eli Apple and Janoris Jenkins, and DRC is that very, very critical, vital third nickel cornerback. He led the team in interceptions. He's not exactly what the Giants look for as far as aggressiveness, but, if you don't bring him back, you need to find someone as good as him, and that's hard to do. But I think their defense is a championship-type defense if they can bring these guys back. On offense, they need at least one a lineman, and it has to be a tackle, probably a left tackle. That's not hard to find. They need a new tight end. They probably need a new running back. That's a lot. And, you need a productive receiver, whether it's Victor Cruz or Roger Lewis or, Tavares King, who showed flashes, something like that. So they're not all the way there on offense. Eli's getting older, not younger, as we all are, and he is coming off a very so-so season behind a very suspect offensive line. So they need help offensively to get to that next level. You look at these teams. The 2 highest scoring teams in their conferences were in the Super Bowl. That's not just an accident.
Paul, and you referenced that, production offensively and points per game. Giants were the 26th ranked team in the league when it comes to points per game. And could you see possibly Ben McAdoo handing the play calling duties to someone else, or do you think the head coach will continue to call the plays?
I don't think it'll happen, Zach. I think he's going to call the plays. That's what he does. He sees his guy in Green Bay. McCarthy gave up the play calling and then took them back. So I think he's going to. Ben has to be. He has to be honest with himself and and how it worked in the play calling. I don't think he was a disaster as far as seeing the whole game. Sometimes these guys get tunnel vision and they have that play sheet in front of them. People call it a diner menu in front of him, and they don't really coach the game. I don't think that was the case with him per se, but I think a lot of it he was hamstrung by the fact that his offensive line was not great, and he looked at it and got very conservative and said, you know what, we need to win this game, by not turning the ball over. We're not going to run the ball great. Our defense is playing lights out, and that was kind of anti what Ben McAdoo was the last 2 years, where he knew he had to throw it all over the place because the defense couldn't hold anybody. I don't think there's anyone on the staff who would really be a logical play caller. I don't know if Mike Sullivan fits that mold. So I think he's going to keep calling the plays and just, try to get better personnel on offense.
Paul, I'll see you. I won't see you, but I know journalism communication students will see you next week. Are you speaking at the very popular Phil Lewis's class?
Yes, sociology students, I guess it is, right?
Yeah.
Sociology of sports. I did it last year. There was no game that night when I came up, so this year I arranged it. He's classes on Wednesdays, and I just scoured the schedule and saw when I was going to be back, and I saw. I think is it the last home game Wednesday? It's not the last one, is it?
No, it's not. But it's a big one because they play UMBC, and UA playing well. Won last night, Paul, at Binghamton, which they've won 14 straight against Binghamton. But UMBC lost last night. They're in third, and UAlbany's in fourth right now, and UMBC lost to Hartford last night. So UAlbany a chance to maybe get third place in the American East standings. So it'll be a big game Wednesday night for you to see.
Yes, I watched the game yesterday in Houston. In Houston, I watched one of the games, and I was actually there was the NFL Honors was last Saturday night, when I was waiting to see Eli Manning get the Walter Payton Man of the Year award, and someone took a picture of me. I was at this theater covering the NFL Honors Saturday night, and I had my laptop up, and I had my phone. That was the game that they lost. Was that the Stony Brook game?
Yeah, it was Stony Brook. Yeah.
Yes. So I was watching the Stony Brook game, and I'll when I see you guys, I'll show you the picture. You can see the Albany was wearing. Were they wearing the yellow uniforms at home that night?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So you can see like the yellow on my phone, and Stony Brook, and I watched that game, and it just didn't go well, obviously, and I was watching that game, waiting for this, while they're announcing Matt Ryan being the MVP. And this guy being the Defensive Player of the Year and all this other stuff, and I was much more interested in the game on my phone. I'll be looking forward to seeing that game on Wednesday live. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you then on Wednesday. Have fun with the class, and thanks for a few minutes as always here on Big Board Sports, Paul.
All right, guys, take care.